Arsenal 1, Chelsea 0. Now I'll tell you what, that was a proper London derby to me. We had a winner, we had a fight, we had a bit of controversy, and look, that's just what Arsenal versus Chelsea is about at this point. That's always been about it. Sorry, I'm watching the Liverpool versus Newcastle game right now. Newcastle 2-0 up. But look, with our Arsenal versus Chelsea game, we've got a little bit to unpack. And first of all, we've got to start with supposedly Cucurella handled the ball away and no penalty was given. Look, I don't know. I didn't see the replay, right? I was at the game. I didn't see the replay. But VAR, they took a look at it and they said, nah, on-field decision's correct. A lot of people are complaining about that, but look, I haven't seen it, but from what I can hear, again, with him handing the ball away, if it's on target, right, if it's a shot on target that's been handed away, the only way I can see that ever getting overturned is if it was, is if his arm or hand was roughly where the body was. Other than that, it should be a penalty. They said that at the start of the season. But again, I will say, I don't know. I didn't see it. And when it comes out, I will have a look at it. But we also need to talk about these Chelsea fans. And they're making me laugh, actually. They really are quite sour about this. They're just complaining about Arsenal, quote-unquote, sitting back. I'm sorry, were we watching different games? Sitting back? You weren't sitting back. Here's what happened, right? Within the first 30 minutes, it was all Arsenal. Arsenal were on top of them, left, right, back and centre. And in the end, we got the goal out of it. But we got the goal out of it. And because of that, we went 1-0 ahead. We had the confidence to keep going. And Chelsea started to find their footing in that game. They started gaining a bit more possession. They started having a go at us. And fair play to them, by the way. I'm not saying that we absolutely dominated them. We didn't. But we did have the more chances. We had the more shots on target. And the chances that we had, that we managed to somehow screw up, you look at that, and you'd say that if we had a proper attack, if we had a Newcastle level attack, we would have been 3-4-0 up. Again, we just got to sit down and say, look, fair play, but the result was fair. And this whole talk about, sitting back, parking the bus, all of it is coming from the second half. And I'm pretty sure that Arsenal fans and Chelsea fans were watching two different games in this. At least the Chelsea fans that I know were having a go at us. Because you would see, in that game, we were trying to go on the counter. Every time we got the ball, we went forward. We tried to send it long. We tried to move it into the midfield. The problem there was that we were struggling in the midfield. Obviously, Chelsea set up a 4-5-1 formation. We had a 4-3-3. So they had the two extra men in the midfield position. And even then, their individual performances, you look at it, every aerial challenge, every tackle, it felt like it was all going Chelsea's way. And as it was going Chelsea's way, Chelsea was winning the ball in the midfield, especially in the second half. As a result of that, we had to fall back. We had to bring back our players, defend, and we did that quite a lot throughout the game. Occasionally we did find our ways out, but you could see we were at least trying. However, I have to give a very fair, unbiased play rating now. And here's what I'm going to say. We're going to start off in goal, David Raya. And I thought David Raya, he didn't have too much to do, at least not too much that makes anyone uncomfortable. He did seem quite comfortable in that game. He collected the ball, he distributed it, sent it long. He did everything he had to do. I can't really fault him. Clean sheet again. Didn't do anything wrong. Just didn't have as much to do as the others. I'll give him a 7.5. I just won't give him an 8 because again he didn't have much to do. Lewis Skelly. I think Lewis Skelly held the ball quite well. He makes those runs in the midfield, and it feels like I'm saying the same thing about Lewis Skelly over and over and over again. But I feel like that's more of a testament as to how good Lewis Skelly actually is. And I personally will give him an 8. Moving on to Gabriel, I would also give him an 8. I think Gabriel was very defensively solid. He had that control, especially when the ball was in dangerous positions for Chelsea, and Chelsea just couldn't create. Sorry about that. Yeah, Chelsea struggled to create. And I think that was because of how good our defense was, especially Gabriel. I would give Gabriel an 8. William Saliba, I will give him a 7.5. I still think Saliba has that kind of defensive presence about him. He can knock players off the ball. He can win aerial duels. And even if this season hasn't really been his season, I still rate him as a player. I still think he's brilliant. But in this game, I think Gabriel was the better one. Not by a massive margin, though. Newcastle's on the ball. Oh, unlucky. William Saliba gets a 7.5. Timber. Newcastle's really pushing for it. Jurrien Timber. He's getting a... Oh, they're still... Can you stop interrupting me, please? Timber! Are they still going? Oh my... Okay. The ball's out of play now. Jurrien Timber. He played quite well as well, I think. Defensively, we were quite solid. Interestingly enough, I think he was moved into the midfield position and Kieran Tierney came on and started playing in that right back position. But look, I can't really comment on him in the midfield. I don't think he was quite quiet in the midfield. But I have no complaints here. I'll give him a 7.5, I think. Moving on to the midfield, and this will be an interesting one. I think midfield-wise, we were in a bit of trouble. As I was saying, I think they started winning the duels and everything else in the midfield. But we're going to start with our captain, Martin Odegaard. And Martin Odegaard, he got the ball. He made the runs. He started looking for those attacking passes, especially in the first 30 so minutes. To me, Martin Odegaard, I think one issue is that he did get that booking, obviously, and that's gonna take off a few points for me. But I've always been that kind of person, and I did have to take off a few points for Gabriel as well. But getting a booking in the midfield when the midfield is so jam-packed with Chelsea players puts the pressure on us. We can't make mistakes at that point in the midfield. But I still want to be fair. I think he was looking for the passes, but he got a bit sloppy in the end. I'll give him a 7.5. Thomas Partey, and I think Thomas Partey, I think he very, very average, a little bit sloppy, especially in the second half as well. But I think his sloppiness shined a bit more than Odegaard's. I don't think it was terrible, but I don't think he really stood out as a player that we could rely on in that game. To me, Thomas Partey, I'm going to give him a 7. Declan Rice, what can you say about Declan Rice? Typically, he bosses the midfield, and I think he struggled today, obviously, going up against Chelsea and their extra 2 men. But if you look at the first half, especially, I thought he played quite well. Again, finding passes, finding runs. He can do it all at this point, except score. But I think with him, he's yeah, I think he just couldn't make those runs. Again, he struggled to win the ball in the midfield, and that would result in Chelsea putting the pressure on, and they piled up pressure constantly. I'll give him a 7.5, just because I think he wasn't horrible. I'm going to move on to Trossard, and I actually think Trossard had a very poor game, if I'm honest. You look at the chances we had, everything he was doing, and look, when he was like building up, yeah, sure, fine, he was quite decent. But if you look at when he was in the box, nothing. But I can't give him anything more, I think, than a 6. I think he was, again, just very average, messing up too many chances, I think, to give him a better rating. 6. Gabriel Martinelli. Gabriel Martinelli, I think he was doing quite well to hold the ball as he was going forward. He took on some defenders going forward. And I can't really complain, if I'm honest. But it feels a bit awkward for me putting Martinelli on the right wing. I think he's better off in the left wing. Obviously, he's a left winger. But I would have preferred him in that position than Trossard. And I would have put Ethan Nwaneri in the right wing. But for Martinelli, he still struggles to score, and that's the thing that I'm worried about. But I love his work ethic. 7. I'm not really sure about this one. 7. Mikel Mourinho. And look, Mikel Mourinho, I think he has to be the man of the match. He scored the winning goal. And oh. Every time I look at the TV, I think something's happening. And something is happening. Ooh. Mikel Mourinho, yeah, as I was saying. Mikel Mourinho, man of the match. I'm going to give him a 9 rating for scoring the winning goal. I think just for scoring the winning goal, I think he deserves that. And we look at Arteta. I personally think there were a few decisions that I would have done differently from Arteta. I would not have taken Ethan Nwaneri out of that starting 11. I would have kept him in, and if Martinelli was fit enough, I would have put Martinelli on the left wing. That's one thing I would have done differently. Another thing I would have done differently, once we saw that the midfield was struggling and 2 out of 3 midfielders were on yellow cards, I would have taken probably Thomas Partey off. And I would have put in, and you're going to have to hear me out on this one, I would have put in Calafiori. Calafiori would have played on the left back, and I would have brought Lewis Skelly into the midfield position. The way he holds the ball, Lewis Skelly, I think that's just something that he does so well. But we were struggling to do that, and he didn't do that, obviously. And another thing that I think I would have done is when Nwaneri came on, I wouldn't have played him in Martinelli's position. I think more than anything else, we needed him in that game. We needed him in that midfield. So I think Lewis Skelly and Ethan Nwaneri should have been in that midfield as substitutes. Overall, though, I can't fault him too much for the game plan. He tried playing counter-attack, and obviously it wasn't working out in the end. I just think he made the decisions a bit too late. Do I be harsh or do I be nice? He's a manager, and I want to back him. I'll give him a 7, I think, just because I think he made some wrong decisions, but he still got us the result. And last but not least, the fans. And the fans, for a rivalry, I thought we were quite quiet, but at the same time, come the second half, we were really trying to push on the players. it didn't happen too consistently. But I very rarely heard Chelsea players. Sorry, I very rarely heard the Chelsea fans. And that was either because we were out singing them, or because they just were sitting there just as quiet as we were. And again, the thing is though, I was on the other side. I was like right all the way down there. But fans wise, look, most of them stayed till the end, and I can give them some props for that. I'm gonna give them an 8. I've always been a backer of fans. The fans that make the journey there, the fans that pay their tickets. I've always been a backer of them, so I'll give them an 8. But anyways, that is my match review. Yes, we were struggling in the midfield, especially in the second half, but that is 3 more points for us. It's a crucial 3 points to stay second place, and who knows what the future holds. But for now, it has ended Arsenal 1, Chelsea 0, and I will be seeing you in the next match preview. I believe is after an international break. Double checking. Yes. I will see you then. In the meantime, goodbye.